Hi, everybody, and welcome back to, oh my God, episode 20 of the Auraborrows podcast. Ooh, ye doggies. That's gonna move this a little closer. That's pretty crazy. We only have about 3 more episodes, I want to say, so by July, we will be wrapping up season 1. Pretty crazy. Yeah, pretty wild to wrap my head around. Um, but yeah, we're making our way through. I'm still planning out season 2, but like I said in a previous episode, we are going to have a little bit of a break period, just for me to sort of get my bearings, put my focus on some different things going on, different things I want to do with the business. Yeah, I do want to put a little more focus on tattooing again, because it's been a while since I kind of like did a whole lot with that, and I'm just now getting back into designing Flash. Um, and Yeah, so I've got this weekend. So by the time this comes out, I'll be at the last market of this weekend. And that's all the markets that I have for right now. Anyways, as of filming this, that's all that I have for the foreseeable future. And I'm okay with that. I really want to focus on um, doing the minor arcana for the tarot and designing a deck. I have a few contacts and ways to make that happen. So fingers crossed I can get all that done maybe by the end of the year. We will see. I'm trying to be realistic with the timelines, but somebody at a recent market said they were looking through my like the prints that I have of the cards that we've been reviewing through this podcast, and she was like, "Oh, I'm wondering if like you have the minor arcana, like do you have all the cards?" And I was like, "Well, it's in the plans, working on it. I do want to make a deck." And she's like, "I'm going to be waiting for that." Um so yeah, and I think like the idea that was communicated to me was um her intention was to have sort of an art piece of all the cards lined up, and I was like, that is awesome. I love that idea. Um that was one of the ideas that I thought of for decorating my studio, but I wasn't like, for some reason I didn't really think of other people wanting that. I just figured people would just want the deck to use. So when I have all the things done, I might also print posters um, with all the different cards and stuff laid out in their proper order, and then people can purchase that if they want as well, and also have a usable deck. So that'll be in the future. Like I said, in my brief period off from filming every week, I really want to concentrate on that and tattoos. And I also have like a bunch of fabric and stuff that I want to use for some handmade stuff. So a lot of hands-on activities instead of being on camera. Um, that said, I'm thinking next season, maybe late fall potentially. So if you're not following me on Instagram already, definitely add me on there, because there will be a lot more details as I have like a better idea of how much time I need between this season and the next, just to get my bearings and prepare everything that I want to have for next season. Everything will be posted on there. So, today we are going to be talking about the Sun card. So, if you're watching on YouTube, I will put that on the screen for you to view. If not, you're more than welcome to look it up on our website. Yeah, easy enough to find. It's just in the art section. And this is a like really nice card. I really like this. I think it was one of my very first cards that I made. Um, Sort of in my initial motivation role. Um, but to give you an image of the card, if you're just listening and can't be arsed to look up an image, that's totally fine. Hey, I'm if I'm listening to a podcast, I'm in the same boat. So, um, yeah, don't worry about it. So, to give you the description, we've got sort of this scene almost created by the layering of different cutouts from various magazine pages. And the style of this actually reminds me a lot of one of the art things that my mom did for my brother and me when we were younger, like as kids. And it's sort of like you have a blue piece of construction paper for the back, and then you cut out sort of a wavy line, like half page of construction paper in like brown or green or whatever to be hills, or I guess if it's sand, it's still hills, but some kind of like textured land in the background, and then you can cut out like smaller things or like people to put in the foreground. So that's kind of what I have with this card. We've got the background, which is a literal sky. I did cut out like a poofy dandelion for the sun. I just thought that was fun, and I don't know, sort of a link between like space and the natural world. You know, it's imaginative. And then I've got sort of this rocky hill cut out in the background, layered just on top of the sky, and then just in front of that, I have these really colorful buildings. They're like pastel blues and pinks and yellows, and I thought that was like really lovely. Something about pastel really makes me think of like childhood innocence, this lightness, and then I have this woman who's kind of like in the very forefront, and it's sort of just her torso, but she's looking up towards the sun. Now I did block out her eyes with the words "the sun," just because I wanted to include, as I have with all the other cards, the title of the card itself within the card. Because one thing that actually annoys me a lot with some tarot is sometimes they just have the numbers on them, and I'm like, I'm terrible with numbers. Like I swear to you, I am the worst person to ask about any mathematical equation. Even remembering a string of numbers, I'm like, oh, that's I nope. Unless it's the number 23, which is my birthday number, not gonna have an easy time remembering. So sorry about it. So yeah, that was one of the key reasons I wanted to include the title on each of the images, because I didn't want there to be any like confusion about what the card was. So, anyways, yeah, that pretty much sums up the imagery of the card. Now, I've already made some kind of links with the imagery and my description of it to a lot of the qualities of what this card means, the intention of the card itself. So, if you have a vague awareness, you might have already sort of put some things together, but innocence and childhood, sort of this sense of joy, um, is one of the key factors of this card. Um, the sun is like it brings a sense of illumination, it brings warmth and vitality. If we think of the sun in like a literal sense, it is something that we use in our day-to-day life, um, to, help our plants grow. Um, Without the sun, we would have a lot of difficulty with crops, and um, we would likely have vitamin D deficiencies. So, um, yeah, there's a lot of positivity that comes out of this card. And if this card comes out in a reading, it is a sign of like this incredible joy that you have available to you. Whether that's something that you're approaching, if you're going through a hard time and you do a reading and the sun card comes out, this is a really good sign that things are looking up. There is like this metaphorical light at the end of the tunnel that is the sun. The other thing that I kind of mentioned is this association to childhood. Um, with this card upright, there can be a lot of like positive connections to your inner child, or this idea, even potentially of like children. Um, Again, that joy, like reconnecting to childhood joys, or just like feeling that sort of freedom of um, like the early stages of growing up and recognizing your place in the world, and like what being alive feels like. Um, that's all wrapped up into this card, especially if it's upright. If it's reverse, this doesn't mean like I know I've said this before, the reverse of cards isn't the negative. It's sort of it's a different perspective. It's for this card specifically as an example. I guess not an example because the episode's literally about this card, but um, this card reversed is going to ask you to really examine your relationship with your inner child. Maybe there's something that your inner child needs help with, needs healing for. Um, and the incredible thing is the with your own ability to tend to your inner child, like you have this immense power to exist simultaneously in past, present, and future. Um, and that is totally, totally a superpower for you, because your present self will have way more knowledge about maybe a situation that you experienced in childhood, whether it be just like a friendship or something like that that didn't really pan out and you never fully understood, but now as an adult, you have a similar situation from another side. And then it kind of clicks for you, and you can think back and apply what you now know to the previous situation, and through that reflection, you can act as a support for your childhood self, because you didn't know back then, but you do now. And like there's growth in that. So you get to sort of, in that way, reparent yourself a little bit, or just like act as a bridge for that kind of connection and healing process, so that you don't have to live with a question or a concern about, like, was it because of something I did or whatever? It's just maybe you grew apart, something like that. Um, so yeah, the sun reminds us, especially in its reverse, that we have the ability to tend to our inner child, and that inner child is flicking the lights on and off because they are in need of a little more attention. Um, so yeah, don't be worried if the sun comes out reverse. This doesn't mean like darkness or the end of days or something like that. Um, but yeah, the sun. I also like to consider the idea of like the sun representing a time period, or a suggestion. Like if the sun comes out reverse, this may be an indication, like if you're thinking about something, or you're unsure about a move to make or something like that. The idea of the sun in reverse, it's like let the sun set another day and come back to it kind of thing. So in that way there is like a some kind of like visualization with the card itself of the sun going down because it's reversed. So that kind of method of reading can be applied to other cards as well, I suppose. Namely, like the moon or the stars, potentially. But I forget if we talked about it with the moon. Like if it's in reverse, waiting like a 2 week cycle kind of thing, for a new moon or something like that. Doesn't necessarily have to be 2 weeks. I guess it depends on when the reading is, but like waiting until the new moon period happens. So something like that. That if you're looking for more specific time coded responses from your deck, that is one way to go about it. Obviously, this is not the first way of reading the cards, so definitely good to be aware of how your cards communicate before you dive in expecting them to deliver this information. Um, I will say with the minor arcana, there are also ways that you can go about um, time periods. So, as an example, like pentacles would be years because it is a like earth based suit, so it takes a longer period for those things to grow and flourish and like create deep root systems and be sturdy. It's a slower process as opposed to um, like water, which is a little bit faster running, but still, there's like trickling periods, that kind of thing. So water would be more representative of months. And then I always get these two mixed up, but I want to say um, swords is weeks, and then wands is days because fire burns quickly. It might be the reverse. Okay, yeah. Yeah. So wands represents a day or days within a week. And then swords represents like a week to a month. And then, so on and so forth. Oh, I really should trust myself a little more with that stuff. But there's always a seed of doubt. Anyways, so yeah, with the sun card, we can think of the idea of this sort of this warmth, this loving energy. There is a sense of compassion. The sun also relates to Leo, the sign of Leo, because Leo is ruled by the sun. So this may be a significant card that might be an indication of like you in a situation if you are a Leo. But ultimately, I do see this card when it comes out as a sign of like great joy, either in your life currently or coming your way, depending on the reading and the context. And also, like, this is such a huge like call for me, at least. Like, one of the primary ways that I view this card is your relationship with your inner child, um, because we all have um, this light within us. Um, if we think of like ourselves as our own solar systems, I guess, like your heart or your spirit, however you want to contextualize that idea of who you are, that's the core of ourself. So everything kind of circulates that one part of our being. So who we are at our core is the sun. And this shows through like this idea, this mentality of us being like who we are is the sun within us. It's directly reflected in astrology conversations. We talk about our sun sign and how that is like who we are destined to be, or like our ego, who it is we believe we are. um so yeah, this, I suppose in that case you can also technically look at it as like an alignment within your like for your sun sign. Like this could be an alignment on your path to becoming who you believe you can be, a sense of your higher self as well. Um, but I really see this as like a connection to your inner child and reconnecting to what joy is or was to you, um, at various stages of your life, and doing so without judgment on yourself. Thank you so much for watching or listening to another episode of the Ouroboros podcast. I am so blown away that we are at 20 episodes. Absolutely blowing my mind. Um, and if you walk away from this episode with anything aside from potentially "You Are My Sunshine" stuck in your head, which works out because that, I guess, is a children's song. It's to take care and nurture your inner child because there's a lot of wisdom in that. Anyways, that's all for this week. Thanks so much. I'll see you next time. Bye.